Many people are stuck in the rat race whether they realize it or not. They are stuck in an endless cycle where they work, pay the bills, sleep, and repeat. In this video, we'll discuss the rat race so that you'll know if you are part of it as well. If you are, stay tuned because we will discuss how you can get out of it. So make sure to watch this video to the end. This is Financial Intellect, where we promote that to be finance savvy, we are your buddy. Now let's get right into the video. After you graduate from college, the rat race begins. You land your first job, then if you're a big dreamer, your initial desire might have been to buy a 72-inch TV or a 152-inch one. So you buy a television. A car might be the next item on the wish list. So while you wait to acquire the car of your dreams, you get yourself a working car. When you started earning big, you are now thinking of upgrading to a somewhat more expensive home. It continues on, having a dream, working hard to get it, then moving on to the next big goal. The rat race, according to Wikipedia, is an endless, self-defeating or useless pursuit that involves a lot of competition and comparison. At work or in business, the competition to get ahead of others is almost always fierce. When you defeat your peers and leave the cubicle, your peers will change. You and your new colleagues who also own offices are all competing for the corner office. You win once more and are given the corner office. The stakes are then upped and you gaze up at the ceiling. This competition continues all the way to the board on the top floor. The rat race is a competitive adventure with no clear finish in sight. As an example, I'd like you to meet Steve and Angela. In college, Steve and Angela were in the same business class. Since they are good with numbers, they both received respectable grades in their classes. Angela, Steve, and a few of their other pals would get together a couple of times a month to play Scrabble while having hot political conversations. Each of them relished these nights and they were frequently the highlight of their months. Fast forward, they graduated from college, landed decent jobs, and gradually slipped into the rat race. Of course, they agreed to constantly keep in touch, which they did by holding monthly Scrabble games as they did before. They used to get together at least once a month to play a few games and reminisce about their college days. After a few months, Angela stopped going to their monthly Scrabble games since she was promoted and had to relocate to another city. Steve also met someone and settled down. After so much hard work, Steve was also promoted at work. He used to own an old beat-up Toyota Corolla, but since he is now the new department head, he bought a new car and sold the old one. He also had a baby on the way, so he had to buy a larger home to accommodate his growing family. He had long forgotten about the monthly Scrabble game as he was now immersed in the game of life. He obtained a mortgage, a second car, and a college fund for his children. Every year, expenses seemed to mysteriously increase, which Steven lamented, so he had to work even harder to make more money. Angela, on the other hand, was never able to settle down. Her work was everything to her. She meticulously organized her days to ensure that she got the most out of each one. Angela's job advancement wasn't difficult. In fact, she found it very easy thanks to the self-discipline she had instilled in herself. So she progressed up the corporate ladder, beating department heads for managerial positions, then other managers for managing director positions, and eventually moving to a new business for a higher-paying job. She didn't say she didn't have friends. She had, and she valued their company, but she didn't spend much time with them. As a result, she struggled to maintain any other relationships outside of work. It was when Steve was driving to a conference 20 years after graduating from college when he felt that the rat race's tiredness was coming down on him. Given how much time he spent at work, his marriage was on the rocks. He adored his children, yet he rarely spent time with them. He was making progress in his career, and his investments were paying off. Still, he remained unhappy. He had believed that having a lot of money, driving a nice car, and providing the best for his children would make him happy. Instead, he was exhausted. Exhausted from striving to push forward with no end in sight, exhausted from doing the same work again and again. He wanted to turn back time and be back in their cramped college dorm room, getting wasted, playing Scrabble, and trashing Play-Doh. At that moment, while still in the car, Steve called his Scrabble squad and planned a meetup. Among all in their circle of friends, only Angela showed up. That night, they talked about the rat race and whether they were satisfied now that they had accomplished practically everything they had hoped to from the time they graduated from college. Is there any hope for them? Was it all for nothing? Steve was annoyed. He believed there was a better method to accomplish this than continuing with their current routine. Angela had mostly accepted her fate. She didn't know how to live her life in any other way than in power suits. The rat race nourished her, clothed her, allowed her to take her luxury trips, and made her as happy as it could. How to get out of life's financial trap. Angela returned home that night, determined to find a better solution. Was there any point in continuing to advance her career day after day? Her job and its monotony had come to irritate her. After reading a few books and articles on various websites, she decided to see if she might enhance the quality of her life by stepping out of the rat race. Check if you are in the rat race. Angela had to figure out if she was in the rat race first. She couldn't get out of something she hadn't admitted to being a part of. So she posed 3 essential questions to herself. Was there any hope? No. Her professional development was a lifelong journey for her. Was competition a part of her profession and life in general? Tremendously. It was the only way for her to advance. Was it distinguished by comparison? There wasn't much, but there was enough to be concerned about. Options and alternatives. Angela's next move was to see if there were any other ways she might earn money. The rat race was her bread and butter, and after she got out of it, she needed to find another source of income. She discovered she lacked any additional abilities after doing some brainstorming. The only thing she enjoyed doing was drawing and painting on occasion. Explore the alternatives. What are some ways to make money sketching and painting? As she pursued her interest, Angela had to ask herself this question. As a result, she opted to work from home for long hours. Working more while attempting to escape the rat race does sound a little ridiculous. Drawing and painting, on the other hand, calmed Angela. She felt good about doing something she was interested in rather than relying on it for a living. As a result, she looked forward to winding down at the conclusion of her day's work, despite the fact that she spent an absurd amount of time on it. At the same time, she looked into how she could transform her interest into a source of money. Angela was gradually getting out of the rat race by mixing up her day with an activity that wasn't aimed at gaining money or getting ahead. Needs versus wants. Angela had to figure out what she needed and let go of the extras she didn't. Her holidays had to be affordable, her outfits had to be practical, and she didn't require a chauffeur because she could drive. By reducing her luxuries and focusing on her requirements, she was able to reduce her income requirement, making it easier for her to eventually leave her work. Steve, on the other hand, was unable to escape the rat race. His fear of losing his job, his competitive personality, and his desire to fit in with his peers all conspired against him. He persuaded himself that after he was done with all of this, he would retire to a small fishing village on the coast and be happy. Angela, on the other hand, bided her time, making tiny changes in her life and recognizing that happiness is not a distant objective to be attained later. Fast forward 2 years, Angela used her business connections to launch her own design company and school, which she now owns and administers. She isn't profitable just now, but she expects to be lucrative in a few months. By then, she will have the option of running the business herself or hiring someone to do it for her. Angela would have essentially escaped the rat race and could finally begin enjoying life in her own terms. This is only one example of the problems that many individuals confront today. Unfortunately, most people will have to work for a living for most of their prime years. However, you are not obligated to take this route. Every day, thanks to the internet, more and more people are launching online businesses such as e-commerce sites, blogs, social media influencers, affiliate marketers, and so on. It's time you took control of your financial future. And that explains the rat race and the steps you can take to escape it. What are your thoughts on this? Have you evaluated your own financial situation? Are you also in a rat race or not? Let us know in the comment section below. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this. And with that, thank you very much for watching. If you like what you've watched, stay tuned for more videos. Bye, financial buddies!